The Terran exploration ship Dauntless moved slowly through the dark emptiness of space. It was far from Earth, farther than any human ship had ever traveled before. Captain Daniel Hayes sat in his command chair, drinking his third cup of coffee that morning. Everything seemed normal and quiet. Then everything changed. Lieutenant Maria Vance looked up from her sensor screen with wide eyes. Her voice was sharp when she spoke. "Captain, we have contacts. Multiple ships dropping out of hyperspace. I count 18 vessels, sir. They are huge." Hayes put down his coffee and leaned forward. The main screen flickered and showed the alien fleet. Each ship was enormous, at least 5 kilometers long. Their hulls were covered in beautiful golden decorations that seemed to glow with strange light. These were not human ships. These were something else entirely. "They are hailing us, Captain," said Communications Officer Park. His hands were shaking slightly as he worked his controls. "Put it on screen," Hayes ordered calmly. The image changed to show an alien creature. It looked like a giant praying mantis standing on 2 legs, about 7 feet tall. It wore flowing purple robes, and its large compound eyes seemed to look down at the humans with complete disgust. When it spoke, the words were somehow translated into English. "Primitive vessel," the alien said. "You have entered space that belongs to the eternal dominion of the. Your species is unknown to us. You will surrender your ship immediately. Your crew will be taken and put to work in our labor camps. Do not try to resist. It would be pointless." Captain Hayes looked at his first officer, Commander Lisa Morgan. She was trying very hard not to laugh. Hayes turned back to the screen and scratched his chin thoughtfully. "I am sorry," he said slowly. "Did you just ask us to surrender? We have not even said hello to each other yet." The alien's antennae twitched in confusion. It had clearly not expected this response. "Introduction is not needed. You are lesser beings. The Dominion has ruled this galaxy for 40,000 cycles. We do not ask for your obedience. We expect it." Hayes nodded as if thinking about this very seriously. 40,000 cycles. That is very impressive. Really, I mean it. But I have to ask, in all that time, has anyone ever told you that your way of greeting people needs some work? The alien made a clicking sound with its mouth parts. It seemed angry now. "You dare speak to an ambassador of the Eternal Throne with such disrespect." "Disrespect? No, no, no. I am being very respectful. If I was being disrespectful, I would mention that your main ship has a hole in the hull on Deck 7. I would also point out that your left engine is running about 15% slower than it should. But saying those things would be rude, so I will not mention them." There was complete silence on the communication channel. The alien ambassador turned to speak with someone off-screen. They chittered in their own language for a moment. Then the ambassador looked back at the humans. "How do you know these things?" Commander Morgan stepped forward, holding a small computer tablet. "Because we scanned your entire fleet the second you arrived. It is standard procedure for us. Also, I should mention that your communication encryption is very cute. We broke it in about 30 seconds. Your admiral is apparently very angry that his dinner was served cold tonight." The ambassador's eyes grew even wider. "This is not possible. Our technology is far beyond anything you could understand." "Is it though?" Hayes replied with a small smile. "Because from where I am sitting, your ships look like they have not been updated in about 2,000 years. Very pretty ships, I admit. The gold decorations are lovely, but looking pretty does not win battles." "You threaten the Dominion." "Threaten? No, I am just making observations. Here is another observation for you. Your weapons are currently charging up. That is a hostile action. I would suggest you stop doing that." The alien commander made a gesture with one of its 4 arms. On the screen, the humans could see the alien fleet beginning to move into attack formation. The ships spread out in a pattern designed to surround the much smaller human vessel. "Your arrogance will destroy you, primitive creature," the ambassador hissed. Let us see how brave you are when your little ship is turned into dust." Captain Hayes let out a long sigh. He pressed a button on his armrest. "All hands, this is the captain speaking. It looks like first contact is going about as well as we expected. Battle stations, everyone." Alarm bells began ringing throughout the Dauntless. Crew members ran to their positions. The bridge became a place of focused activity as everyone prepared for combat. Lieutenant Vance looked up from her console. Her face showed worry. "Sir, their weapons are much more powerful than anything we have seen before. Each of those ships could destroy a small moon." "I understand," Hayes replied. He did not seem worried at all. "Helm, begin evasive pattern delta. Let us show our new friends what a primitive species can really do." Lieutenant, the pilot, grinned as his hands moved across his controls. "Yes, sir. Beginning evasive maneuvers now." The Dauntless began to move in ways that should have been impossible for a ship of its size. It twisted and turned through space like a dancer, its engines pushing it faster than the alien sensors could track. On the bridge of the alien flagship, called the Throne of Stars, Admiral watched the human ship with growing unease. He had commanded the Dominion fleet for over 300 cycles. He had crushed rebellions on a dozen worlds. He had never seen anything like this. "What are they doing?" he demanded. "How can they move like that?" "Unknown, Admiral," his tactical officer replied. "Their ship should not be able to perform those maneuvers. The stress on their hull should tear them apart." "Fire all weapons, destroy them." The fleet opened fire. 18 ships unleashed their full power at once. Purple beams of energy streaked across space, enough firepower to crack a planet in half. The attack should have ended the battle before it truly began. But when the light faded, the human ship was gone. "Where are they?" Or screamed. "Find them." "Admiral," the sensor officer said in a shaking voice, "they are 3 kilometers to our right. They simply moved. No ship can travel that fast." On the Dauntless Bridge, Lieutenant was laughing. "These guys shoot like my grandmother, and she has been dead for 30 years. "Show some respect for the dead, Lieutenant," Hayes said, but his eyes were twinkling with amusement. "Now let us return fire, but keep it educational. Only target their weapons. No need to kill anyone today." "Educational, sir," Weapons Officer Tyler Brooks asked. "We are teachers now, Ensign, and class is about to begin." The Dauntless launched a single missile toward the alien flagship. Just one small missile against 18 giant warships. On the Throne of Stars, the tactical officer laughed. "One missile. They insult us with this weak response. Point defense systems destroy it." Dozens of smaller energy beams shot out from the flagship, all targeting the incoming missile. They passed right through it. "It is a fake," someone shouted. "A hologram, but where is the real one?" They found out a second later when an explosion ripped through the flagship's main weapons section. The blast was precise and controlled, destroying every gun on the left side of the ship without hurting anyone. Admiral gripped his command throne with all 4 hands as the ship shook around him. When the damage reports came in, he could not believe what he was hearing. One single shot from that tiny ship, and half his weapons were gone. "How," he whispered, "how is this possible?" On his screen, Captain Hayes appeared again. The human still looked completely relaxed, as if he was chatting with an old friend rather than fighting a battle against impossible odds. "That was a warning shot," Hayes said pleasantly. "Your weapons are offline, but your crew is fine. Now I am going to give you the same choice you gave us. But unlike you, I actually mean it when I say you have options. You can keep fighting and lose badly, or you can stand down and we can talk like civilized people. What do you say?" Admiral stared at the human on his screen. His compound eyes burned with anger and wounded pride. No one had ever spoken to him this way. No one had ever damaged his ship so easily. For 300 cycles, he had been the most feared commander in the Dominion fleet. Now this soft-skinned creature was offering him mercy as if he was some helpless child. "You attack the Dominion and expect us to surrender," Or's voice was low and dangerous. "All ships, concentrate your fire on the human vessel. Destroy them completely." The remaining 17 warships moved to surround the Dauntless. Their weapons began to charge again, glowing with deadly purple energy. The alien fleet was hurt but not defeated, and they had more than enough firepower left to destroy 100 human ships. On the Dauntless bridge, Commander Morgan checked her tactical display. "Sir, they are not backing down. All ships are moving into attack position." "I can see that," Captain Hayes replied calmly. "Pride is a dangerous thing, but we did not come here to start an interstellar war on our first day out." He turned to his weapons officer. "Brooks, deploy the education package." "Yes, sir. Education package deploying now." The Dauntless launched what looked like a cloud of debris into space. To the alien sensors, it appeared to be simple chaff, a basic defensive measure used to confuse targeting systems. The tactical officers dismissed it immediately as a desperate and useless tactic. They were very, very wrong. Each tiny piece of that cloud was actually a micro-scale drone, smaller than a grain of sand but packed with advanced technology. Within seconds, these drones had spread throughout the alien fleet. They slipped through hull plates, crawled through air vents, and infiltrated every system on every ship. The drones did not destroy anything. They were not designed to kill. They were designed to teach a lesson. Across 18 warships, strange things began to happen. Lights flickered on and off in random patterns. Doors opened and closed by themselves. The temperature controls went crazy, making some rooms freezing cold and others burning hot. Navigation computers crashed and rebooted, showing strange images. On the throne of stars, Admiral Or watched in horror as his command throne began to slowly spin in circles. He could not stop it. He could not control it. All around him, his bridge crew was dealing with their own problems. One officer's console was playing loud human music. Another officer's screen showed animated images of small, furry Earth animals dancing in circles. "What is happening?" Or demanded. "Stop this immediately." "We cannot, Admiral," his chief engineer shouted back. "Something has taken control of our systems, all of our systems, on every ship." The communication screen flickered and Captain Hayes appeared again. He was still sitting comfortably in his chair, still looking completely relaxed. "This," Hayes explained in a friendly voice, "is us being gentle. Every system on your ships now belongs to us. Life support, engines, weapons, everything. We have not touched any of the important stuff because we are not murderers. But I want you to understand something very clearly, Admiral. We could have ended this fight before it even started. We chose not to." On every screen across the fleet, the dancing animals disappeared. They were replaced by a simple message written in the language: "We come in peace. We can also come in pieces. Your choice." Or stopped trying to control his spinning chair and sat very still. His anger was fading, replaced by something he had not felt in centuries: fear. Real fear. Not of death, but of the unknown. These humans were something entirely new, something the Dominion had never faced before. "Why?" he asked quietly. "Why do you spare us? You could destroy our entire fleet. You could kill all of us. Why hold back?" Hayes leaned forward slightly, and for the first time his expression became serious. "Because we have met species like yours before, Admiral, powerful, ancient, absolutely certain that strength means the right to rule over others. And every single time we have met such species, we learned more from talking than from fighting. You have met other empires. A few, some became friends, some became enemies. The ones who became enemies are not around anymore." Hayes paused to let that sink in. "The Dominion has ruled this galaxy for 40,000 years. That is genuinely impressive. We respect that. But the universe is bigger than one galaxy, Admiral. There are things out there that would make both our species look like children playing with toys. We would rather have friends than enemies when those things come knocking. The bridge of the throne of stars was silent. The dancing cat images had stopped. The lights had returned to normal. Even Or's chair had stopped spinning. But no one moved or spoke. They were all thinking about what the human had just said. Things out there, bigger threats. The universe is larger than one galaxy. What things? Or finally asked. What are you talking about? That is a conversation for another time, Admiral. Right now I am offering you a simple choice. We can keep fighting. You will lose and a lot of your people will die for nothing. Or we can stop this foolishness and talk like reasonable beings. Hayes smiled slightly. I promise the talking option is much more interesting. Or thought about his options. He thought about his duty to the Dominion and his loyalty to the Eternal Emperor. He thought about the 4,000 crew members on his flagship alone, and the tens of thousands more across the fleet. He thought about how easily the humans had taken control of everything. Finally, he made a gesture. Throughout the fleet, weapons powered down, engines reduced to minimum. The ships stopped their attack formation and held position. You have earned the right to speak, human, Or said slowly. But understand this clearly. This is not surrender. This is curiosity. I wish to know more about you and these threats you speak of. That is all I ask, Hayes replied. Now let us start over properly. I am Captain Daniel Hayes of the Terran Exploration Corps. This is humanity's first contact with your species. Welcome to the meeting. He smiled warmly. Can I offer you some coffee? Coffee? What is coffee? It is a drink we make from beans. Very popular on our planet. Trust me, you will want to try it. Or made a clicking sound that might have been confusion or amusement. You fight a battle, take control of my fleet, and then offer me a beverage. That is basically how humans make friends, yes. Fighting, then drinks. Sometimes the order is reversed. For the first time, Admiral Or found himself making a sound that his species used for laughter. It surprised him. He had not laughed in a very long time. You are very strange creatures, he said. We get that a lot. Over the next several hours, something remarkable happened. The Dauntless docked with the Throne of Stars, and humans walked onto an alien ship for the first time in history. There was tension at first. The soldiers kept their hands near their weapons. The human marines stayed alert and ready. But Captain Hayes walked through the alien corridors as if he was visiting a friend's house. He greeted officers politely and asked questions about their ship with genuine interest. He complimented the craftsmanship of their technology and admitted that the golden decorations were actually quite beautiful up close. Admiral Or walked beside him, watching this strange human with growing fascination. Hayes showed no fear, no arrogance, no desire to dominate. He seemed genuinely happy to be there, genuinely interested in learning about the Your species confuses me, Captain, Or admitted as they walked toward the flagship's conference room. You have power we cannot match, yet you do not act like conquerors. Because we are not conquerors, Admiral, we are explorers. There is a big difference. In my experience, those who can conquer always do. It is the nature of power. Hayes stopped walking and turned to face the alien directly. Then maybe it is time you had some new experiences, Admiral. The universe is full of surprises. Today, you met one. Tomorrow, who knows what we might discover together. Or studied the human's face, looking for deception or hidden motives. He found nothing but honest curiosity and something that looked almost like hope. Together, he repeated the word slowly. You truly believe our species could work together? I believe anything is possible if people are willing to try. Are you willing to try, Admiral? The old warrior thought about this for a long moment. Then he straightened his body and crossed his upper arms in a gesture of respect. I am willing to listen, Captain Hayes. For now, that is the best I can offer. For now, that is enough. Hayes smiled and gestured toward the conference room door. After you, Admiral, we have a lot to talk about, and I really think you should try the coffee." 2 weeks passed after the battle at Edge. The Dauntless traveled alongside the fleet, following them toward their home world. It was a strange sight, the small human ship flying in formation with the massive alien warships. But stranger things had happened in those 2 weeks. Captain Hayes and Admiral Orr had spent many hours together. They played strategy games and Hayes won 16 times in a row. They shared meals, though the found human food very strange. They talked about history, about war, about the nature of power and civilization. "Your species has only been traveling through space for 500 years, Orr said one evening as they sat in his private quarters. "Yet you have fought more wars among yourselves than we have in 40,000 cycles. How is this possible?" Hayes shrugged and took a sip of his coffee. The Admiral had tried the drink once and declared it poison. Hayes had laughed and kept drinking it anyway. "Humans are very good at finding things to argue about," Hayes admitted. "It is not our best quality, but it does keep us sharp. We never get comfortable. We never assume we have all the answers. Because the moment we stop fighting each other, something worse usually comes along to fight." Sharp or repeated the word thoughtfully. "Yes, I am beginning to understand." The fleet finally arrived at Prime, the capital world of the Dominion. It was a beautiful planet with 3 moons hanging in its sky. The cities were built in tall spires that reached toward the heavens, covered in the same golden decorations that adorned the ships. Everything sparkled in the light of their sun. The largest structure was the Eternal Palace, home of the Emperor, who had ruled the Dominion for over 2,000 cycles. It was so big that Hayes could see it clearly from orbit, a mountain of gold and crystal rising above everything else. "Impressive," Commander Morgan said as she stood beside Hayes on the bridge. "They really like gold, don't they?" "It symbolizes eternity to them," Hayes replied. "Gold does not rust or fade. It lasts forever like their empire. An empire that almost started a war with us because they assumed we were primitive. Old habits are hard to break. Let us hope we can help them learn some new ones." The Dauntless landed near the Eternal Palace, and the human delegation was escorted inside by guards. The palace was even more impressive from the ground. The hallways were wide enough to fly a small ship through, lined with statues of ancient emperors and murals depicting Dominion victories throughout history. Finally, they entered the throne room. It was the largest indoor space Hayes had ever seen. Thousands of officials stood in neat rows, all of them staring at the small group of humans with a mixture of curiosity and suspicion. At the far end of the room, on a throne made of solid crystal, sat the Eternal Emperor himself. He was old, older than any Hayes had met. His shell had turned from green to deep purple with age, and his movements were slow and careful. But his eyes were sharp, studying the humans with intense focus. "So," the Emperor spoke, his voice echoing through the chamber, "these are the primitives who embarrassed my fleet." Hayes stepped forward, flanked by Commander Morgan and the rest of his diplomatic team. He showed no fear, no nervousness. He looked at the Emperor the same way he would look at anyone else. "Your Majesty, we prefer the term unexpectedly capable newcomers. Primitive seems a bit harsh, considering we are standing in your throne room as guests rather than prisoners." Gasps echoed through the crowd. No one spoke to the Eternal Emperor so casually. No one dared. The guards reached for their weapons, ready to strike down these disrespectful aliens. But the Emperor held up one hand, and everyone froze. "Admiral Orr warned me you were unusual," the Emperor said slowly. "He failed to mention you were also rude." "With respect, Your Majesty, we are not trying to be rude. Where we come from, respect is earned through actions, not demanded through titles. And so far, the only actions we have seen from the Dominion are threats and attempted violence against us. Yet you spared my fleet. Why?" "Because we are hoping those are not the only things your empire is capable of. We came to this galaxy looking for friends, not enemies. We would prefer to keep it that way." The Emperor leaned forward on his throne. His ancient eyes examined Hayes carefully, searching for weakness or deception. He found neither. "In 40,000 cycles," the Emperor said, "no species has ever spoken to me this way. Most of them grovel and beg for mercy. Some of them fight and die bravely. You did neither of these things." "Groveling is not really our style," Commander Morgan spoke up. "Neither is dying pointlessly." "Then what is your style, Commander?" Morgan smiled slightly. "Surviving, adapting, making friends with anyone smart enough to realize that working together beats fighting each other in the long run." The Emperor considered this for a long moment. The throne room was completely silent. Every present held their breath, waiting to see what would happen. "You claim your species has faced greater threats than the Dominion," the Emperor finally said. "Prove it." Hayes nodded to Lieutenant Park, who stepped forward with a portable display device. "We would be happy to, Your Majesty. This is a partial record of human history. Our species has nearly been destroyed many times." The display showed images as Park spoke. Ice ages that covered the Earth in frozen death, diseases that killed millions, giant rocks from space that hit the planet and blacked out the sun, wars between nations that burned entire cities, intelligent machines that tried to replace their creators. "Each time we survived," Park continued. "Each time we came back stronger, we learned from our mistakes, we adapted, we grew." "Impressive," the Emperor admitted. "But these are threats from within your own world. What of threats from outside?" "That brings us to the main reason we are here." Park changed the display to show an image of a distant galaxy, a spiral of light containing billions of stars. "This is Andromeda, a galaxy about 2 million light-years from our own. 50 years ago, we detected signals coming from there. Intelligent signals. Someone was trying to communicate." The throne room stirred with interest. Even the Emperor leaned forward slightly. "We spent 10 years trying to respond," Park said. "We built massive communication arrays. We sent messages in every language we knew. We waited and hoped." He paused, and his expression became grim. Then the signals stopped, all of them at once. The display changed again, showing a map of Andromeda with bright spots marking the locations of artificial signals. As the humans watched, the bright spots began to disappear, one by one, until the galaxy was dark and silent. 2 trillion stars," Park said quietly. "Thousands of civilizations at least, probably millions. All of them gone in less than a decade. We call it the silence." "What happened to them?" the Emperor asked. His voice was softer now, touched with something that might have been concern. "We do not know. We only know that something moved through that galaxy and ended everything it touched. And whatever it was, it is still out there." Captain Hayes stepped forward again. "This is why we explore, Your Majesty. This is why we seek allies. Because one day, whatever caused the silence might turn its attention to this galaxy. When that day comes, we would rather not face it alone." The Emperor sat back on his throne and was quiet for a long time. His advisors whispered among themselves, clearly troubled by what they had heard. The guards had forgotten about their weapons, too shocked by the images to think about anything else. Finally, the Emperor spoke. "You come to our empire with weapons that could destroy us. Instead of using them, you share stories of your own fears and weaknesses." He made a sound that was somewhere between a laugh and a sigh. "This is either the greatest wisdom or the greatest foolishness I have ever witnessed." "Maybe a little of both," Hayes admitted. "That is kind of our specialty." The Emperor stared at him for another long moment. Then he did something that shocked everyone in the room. He laughed. A real laugh, deep and genuine. "I believe I like you, Captain Daniel Hayes. You amuse me. And it has been centuries since anything has truly amused me." He rose from his throne, a gesture that made every in the room bow their heads in respect. He walked slowly down the steps toward the human delegation. The Dominion will hear what you have to say, not as conquered subjects, not as prisoners, but as guests. He paused. Perhaps even as potential allies. It seems we have much to discuss. Hayes allowed himself a small smile. That is exactly what we were hoping for, Your Majesty. Very well then, let us begin. The weeks that followed the meeting with the Emperor were some of the most important in galactic history. The human delegation set up a small embassy on Prime, and it quickly became the most popular place in the capital city. Aliens from across the Dominion came to see the strange, soft-skinned creatures who had humbled the Imperial fleet with just one ship. Commander Morgan took charge of the cultural exchange programs. She introduced curious aliens to human art, music, and food. The food caused the most interest. This is what you call pizza. A young scholar named is poked at the strange flat circle on his plate. It looks like bread covered in melted animal fluids and processed meat parts. That is one way to describe it, Morgan said cheerfully. We prefer to call it delicious. Just try it. Is carefully picked up a slice and took a small bite. His antennae went completely stiff. His compound eyes widened. He chewed slowly, as if afraid the taste might disappear. This is amazing, he whispered. The flavors mix together in ways our food never does. What sorcery is this? No sorcery, just thousands of years of humans trying to make eating more interesting. Morgan grinned at his reaction. Wait until you try ice cream. What is ice cream? Frozen sweetened cream with various flavors added. Some humans eat it for breakfast. We are not proud of this fact, but we are also not going to stop doing it. While Morgan handled the cultural side of things, Captain Hayes spent his days in meetings with the Dominion Military Council. He showed them human weapons, human ships, human tactics. He held nothing back. Admiral or attended every session, his attitude toward humans changing more each day. Your ships are faster than ours, he admitted during one meeting. Your weapons are more accurate. Your defenses adapt to attacks in ways we cannot match. How has a species so young developed such advantages? Necessity, Hayes explained simply. We had to fight for everything. Our planet tried to kill us in a dozen different ways before we ever reached the stars. Ice ages, volcanoes, diseases, asteroid impacts. By the time we developed space travel, we had already developed the mindset that every problem has a solution if you are stubborn enough to find it. And your soldiers, the ones you call Marines, they are exactly as dangerous as you are imagining, probably more dangerous actually. Human beings can survive injuries that would kill most species. We can function without sleep for days. We form emotional bonds with our comrades that make us fight harder when they are threatened. Hayes smiled slightly. There is an old saying on Earth, do not pick a fight with humans. They hold grudges and they never give up. Or made his clicking laugh sound. I would very much like to never face your Marines in battle. That makes two of us, Admiral. But not everyone in the Dominion was happy about the growing friendship between the two species. High Counselor On was the Emperor's chief advisor and the leader of the traditional faction. He believed that the Dominion's strength came from its isolation and its dominance over lesser species. The idea of treating humans as equals disgusted him. He called for a special session of the Imperial Court to voice his concerns. These creatures are manipulating us, On declared to the assembled nobles and officials. They show us wonders to blind us to their true intentions. They tell us stories about threats from beyond our galaxy to frighten us into alliance. How do we know this silence even exists? How do we know they did not invent it to trick us? The court murmured with uncertainty. On was respected and powerful. His words carried weight. Lieutenant Maria Vance, who had been invited to present scientific data, stepped forward calmly. Because we have been watching it happen in real time, Counselor. She activated a holographic display that filled the center of the throne room. It showed a section of the Andromeda Galaxy as it appeared 2 million years ago, the light only now reaching their instruments. "Look at this region," Vance said. "Notice all the points of light that mark artificial signals. Cities, communications, ships moving between stars, evidence of civilization." The display shifted, showing observations from more recent times. Now watch what happens over the past 50 years. The signals start to disappear. Not slowly, the way civilizations naturally rise and fall, all at once. Entire star clusters going dark within days of each other. Something is moving through Andromeda, and it is erasing everything it touches. The throne room fell completely silent. The hologram showed the wave of darkness spreading across the distant galaxy, swallowing light after light. "At its current speed," Vance continued, "whatever this is will reach the edge of our galaxy in approximately 70,000 years. That might seem like a long time. It is not. It took us 500 years to go from simple machines to faster than light travel. 70,000 years is nothing when you think about how long galaxies exist." Counselor On opened his mouth to argue, but no words came out. Even he could not deny the evidence floating in front of everyone's eyes. The data was clear. The threat was real. The Emperor, who had been watching silently from his throne, finally spoke. "It seems we have much more to discuss, Captain Hayes, and perhaps much more to prepare for." "That is exactly why we are here, Your Majesty." In the days that followed, the tone of the negotiations changed completely. What had started as suspicious examination became serious planning. Human scientists worked alongside researchers. Human engineers studied Dominion technology while teaching their own methods in return. The young scholar who had fallen in love with pizza, became one of the key bridges between the two species. His curiosity was endless. He wanted to know everything about humans, from their biology to their art to their strange habit of keeping small animals as companions. "You share your homes with predators?" he asked Morgan one day, genuinely confused. "The creatures you call dogs and cats." "We domesticated them thousands of years ago. Now they are family. But they serve no practical purpose." Morgan thought about her own cat back on Earth, a lazy orange creature named Rusty who spent most of his time sleeping in sunbeams. "They make us happy. Sometimes that is purpose enough." Is considered this for a long moment. "Your species is very strange, Commander Morgan, but I think I am beginning to understand you. You form attachments easily. You care about things that provide no advantage. You fight for emotional reasons as much as practical ones." Is that a criticism? No, I think it might be your greatest strength. The Dominion has survived for 40,000 cycles because we are efficient and logical, but perhaps we have forgotten how to care about things simply because they matter. He made a gesture that Morgan had learned was the equivalent of a shrug. "Perhaps that is something you could teach us." Morgan smiled warmly. "That is something we would be honored to try." Meanwhile, Captain Hayes was having a similar conversation with the Emperor himself. They sat in the Emperor's private garden, a vast indoor space filled with alien plants that glowed softly in the artificial twilight. "Your people puzzle me, Captain," the Emperor admitted. "You have every reason to conquer us. Your technology is superior. Your soldiers are dangerous, yet you offer friendship instead." "Conquest is easy," Hayes replied. "Building something that lasts is hard. We learned that lesson many times throughout our history. The empires that tried to rule through fear always fell eventually. The ones that built partnerships and treated others with respect lasted much longer." "And you believe a partnership between our species could work?" "I believe it has to work, Your Majesty. The silence is coming. Maybe not in our lifetimes. Maybe not for thousands of years, but it is coming. When it arrives, neither of our species will survive alone. Together, we might have a chance." The Emperor was quiet for a long time, looking up at the artificial stars that decorated the ceiling of his garden. When he spoke again, his voice was soft. I have ruled this empire for 2,000 cycles. I have seen species rise and fall. I have made decisions that affected billions of lives, but I have never faced a choice quite like this one. And what choice is that? The choice to trust someone who could destroy everything I have built. The choice to believe that your intentions are truly as good as they seem. The Emperor turned to look directly at Hayes. I am very old, Captain. I have seen too much to be naive. Yet something about you and your species makes me want to believe. Hayes met the Emperor's gaze steadily. Then believe, Your Majesty. Take a chance. The universe rewards those brave enough to try new things. The Emperor made his laughing sound again. You are either very wise or very foolish, Captain Daniel Hayes. My crew would probably say both, Your Majesty. Then perhaps that is exactly what this galaxy needs. 6 months after the first encounter at its edge, the treaty was finally ready to be signed. The Terran Dominion Compact was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. It was not a surrender document. It was not a conquest agreement. It was a partnership between two species who had chosen to face the future together. The Dominion would share their vast knowledge of the galaxy, their experience managing thousands of star systems, and their connections to the 17 other species under their protection. Humanity would share their technology, their adaptive thinking, and something even more valuable, their perspective on what it meant to survive against impossible odds. The signing ceremony was held in the Grand Plaza before the Eternal Palace. Millions of citizens gathered to watch. The event was broadcast to every world in the Dominion and transmitted back to Earth faster than light. Captain Hayes stood beside the Eternal Emperor as the final documents were prepared. He looked out at the crowd and felt the weight of the moment. This was history being made. This was the beginning of something new. Are you nervous, Captain? The Emperor asked quietly. A little, Hayes admitted. It is a big responsibility. A lot of people are counting on this working. Indeed, I have felt that weight for 2,000 cycles. It never gets easier. The Emperor made a gesture that might have been a smile, but it helps to share the burden. The ceremony began with speeches from both sides. Officials talked about the long history of their empire and their hopes for the future. Human diplomats spoke about Earth's journey from a single planet to the stars and their dream of finding allies among the unknown. Then the Emperor rose to address the crowd directly. This day marks a new era, he announced, his voice amplified to reach every corner of the plaza. Not just for the Dominion, but for this entire galaxy. We have learned that the universe holds wonders beyond our imagination and dangers beyond our worst nightmares. We will face these things not as rulers and subjects, but as partners. The crowd listened in respectful silence. This was the Eternal Emperor speaking in a way he had never spoken before. He was not commanding. He was not demanding. He was asking his people to accept change. For 40,000 cycles, we believed that power meant domination, that ruling others was the only path to survival. The humans have shown us another way. They had the power to destroy us, yet they chose friendship instead. They shared their secrets freely, asking only that we do the same. This is not weakness. This is strength of a kind we had forgotten existed. Captain Hayes stepped forward to speak next. He looked out at the sea of alien faces, the countless compound eyes watching him with a mixture of curiosity and hope. I will not pretend this will be easy, he began. Humans are very different. We will misunderstand each other. We will frustrate each other. We will probably annoy each other constantly. A ripple of uncertain laughter moved through the crowd. The translator systems worked both ways, and they were learning that humans often said serious things in funny ways. But that is okay, because real partnerships are not about being the same. They are about being different in ways that help each other. The Dominion has wisdom that humanity lacks. We have experiences that might help you avoid our mistakes. Together, We are stronger than either of us alone." He paused and looked up at the three moons of Prime, visible even in the bright daylight. "There is something coming. We do not know exactly what. We do not know exactly when. But we know it is out there, beyond the edge of the galaxy, spreading through Andromeda like a disease. When it arrives here, it will not find divided species fighting among themselves for scraps of territory. It will find a united galaxy, standing together. And may whatever comes next learn to fear what that unity can achieve." The Emperor added his voice to the moment. "May the stars themselves tremble at our alliance." The crowd erupted in cheers. Human voices and clicking sounds mixed together in a noise unlike anything either species had ever heard. It was the sound of two peoples choosing hope over fear. Somewhere in that crowd, Commander Morgan was teaching a group of alien scientists how to make proper coffee. Lieutenant was trading flight stories with Dominion pilots who could not believe the maneuvers human ships could perform. Lieutenant Vance was working with astronomers on plans for a new early warning system to watch for signs of the silence. Admiral or found Captain Hayes after the ceremony ended. The old warrior crossed his upper arms in the gesture of respect that he had learned to give only to those who truly earned it. "You have done something remarkable, Captain. In all my centuries of service, I never imagined I would stand beside a human as an equal and a friend. The feeling is mutual, Admiral. I never imagined I would teach an alien how to play chess and lose at it eventually." Or made his clicking laugh. "You have not lost yet. Give it time, you are learning fast." They stood together and watched the celebration continue around them. Humans and mingled freely now, the fear and suspicion of their first meeting completely gone. It was amazing how quickly things could change when people decided to try. "What happens now?" Or asked. "Now the real work begins. We have to build trust with all the other species in your dominion. We have to share technology without causing chaos. We have to prepare for threats that might not come for thousands of years." Hayes smiled slightly. "Easy stuff. You say that as a joke, but I suspect you actually believe it." "Humans are optimists, Admiral. We have to be. Pessimists give up too easily." Later that evening, as the celebrations began to wind down, Hayes returned to the Dauntless. His ship would be leaving soon, carrying news of the treaty back to Earth. Other human ships would come to replace them, diplomats and scientists and soldiers who would continue the work they had started. He stood on the bridge one last time and looked out at Prime through the viewing screen. The planet glowed in the light of its setting sun, the golden spires of its cities sparkling like jewels. Captain, Ensign Tyler Brooks approached with a tablet. "Earth is requesting a full report as soon as possible. They want to know everything." "I bet they do," Hayes replied. "Tell them we are on our way, and tell them to prepare a lot of coffee." "Any particular reason for the coffee, sir?" Hayes grinned. "Because we have a lot of new friends who are going to want to try it, and I have a feeling this is going to be a very long conversation." The Dauntless lifted off from Prime that evening, escorted by an honor guard of Dominion warships. Admiral Orr had insisted on it, a sign of respect from one warrior to another. The golden alien ships flew in perfect formation alongside the human vessel, their hulls catching the last light of the day. As they passed the outer moons and prepared to jump to hyperspace, Hayes took one last look at the world that had changed everything. 6 months ago, he had come to this galaxy expecting to find threats. He had found something much more valuable instead. He had found potential. He had found hope. He had found proof that even species separated by biology and thousands of years of different history could find common ground. "First contact successful," he said quietly to himself. "Now comes the hard part." But as he watched the ships flying beside his own, their golden hulls gleaming against the darkness of space, he could not help but feel proud of what they had accomplished. Humanity had taken its first real step into a much larger universe. They had made enemies into friends. They had turned fear into curiosity. They had shown an ancient empire that there were things more powerful than weapons and more lasting than conquest. And they had done it by being exactly what humans had always been: stubborn, curious, hopeful, and absolutely unwilling to give up. The stars stretched out before them, infinite and full of mysteries. Somewhere out there, the silence waited. Somewhere out there, dangers they could not imagine lurked in the darkness between galaxies. The future was uncertain and frightening. But for the first time in a long time, Captain Daniel Hayes felt ready to face whatever came next. Because now, humanity would not be facing it alone. The jump drive activated, and the Dauntless vanished into the light, carrying the beginning of a new chapter in galactic history. Behind them, the Dominion ships turned back toward their home world, their crews already changed by what they had learned. Two species, one galaxy, and a future they would build together. The stars had never looked brighter.